Welcome back. In our previous lecture, we have covered how to calculate MIRR in Excel. In this lecture, we cover payback period. Now, let's look at what is meant by payback period. Payback period simply indicates the number of years required for a project to recover the project's cost, or it simply answer the question about how long does it take to get your money back. So, is it going to take 3 years or 4 years to recover your investment? That's the payback period. Now, acceptance criteria or decision criteria of payback period. If payback period is less than maximum acceptable payback period, we will accept the project. And if the payback period is more than the maximum acceptable payback period, we will reject the project. Now the question is about maximum acceptable payback period. There is no rule for maximum acceptable payback period because the length of maximum acceptable payback period is determined by the management. Here is a solved problem of payback period. Again, there are two projects, Project S and Project L. Let's look at the cash flows of Project S. Project S has an initial investment of $1,000, then it will generate $1,000 million, then it will generate $500 million in year 1, then 400, 300 and $100 respectively in year 2, 3 and 4. Now let's look at the cumulative cash flow of Project S. Initial investment of this project is 1,000, so cumulative cash flow at year 0 is minus 1,000, negative. The project will generate $500 in year 1, so the cumulative cash flow in year 1 is minus $500 or negative $500. So this is how it is calculated. Minus $1,000 of initial investment plus $500 cash inflows in year 1. So that's minus 500. Then look at year 2. In year 2, this project will generate $400. So plus $400 of cash inflow in year 2. And minus $500 cumulative cash flow in year 1. If we adjust minus 500 with plus 400 in year 2, it will be minus 100 cumulative cash flow in year 2. Now let's look at year 3. The project will generate $300 in year 3. So minus 100 plus 300. That's $200 cumulative cash flow in year 3. And in the final year, that means in the 4th year, the project will generate the project S will generate $100. So that's positive cash flow. And year 3 has also a positive 200 cumulative cash flow. So 200, positive 200, that means plus 200 plus 100. $300 cumulative cash flow for year 3. Now let's look at the calculation of payback period. This project is generating a $200 positive cash flow after 2 years. So 2 plus $100 is the last negative cumulative cash flows. That's 100 divided by 300. So last negative cumulative cash flows divided by the next period's total cash flows. So 2. That means this project, the project S, is becoming positive after 2 years. So 2 plus 100. That's the last cumulative negative cash flows. That's 100. So here we are not using the negative signs. We will keep it as positive 100 divided by 300. So the projects become positive in year 3. So in 3rd year, projects generates in total $300 cash. So this is how we calculate the payback period. So if we calculate this, it will be 2.33 years. So payback period of project S is 2.33 years. So after 2.33 years, the project will recover its initial investment. In the same way, we can also find out the payback period of project L. And the payback period of project L is 3.30 years. Now, assume that the maximum acceptable payback period for both projects is 2 years. Again, assume that the maximum acceptable payback period for both projects is 3 years. In this case, project S will be accepted because this project's payback period is less than 3 years. But project L will be rejected because this project's payback period is more than 3 years. So once again, if the maximum acceptable payback period for both projects is 3 years, in that case, project S will be accepted because its payback period is less than 3 years, and project L will be rejected because its payback period is more than 3 years. So in this case, whether the projects are independent or mutually exclusive, we can only accept project S, and project L will be rejected whether the projects are independent or mutually exclusive, because the project L does not meet the criteria, which is the project L fails to recover its initial investment less than 3 years. Now let's look at the strengths and weaknesses of payback. First of all, strengths. The payback period provides an indication of project risks and liquidity. So if a project recovers its initial investment quickly, we can say that project is less risky and more liquid. Secondly, it is really easy to calculate and understand the payback period. That means the concept of payback period. Now, weaknesses. The biggest weakness of payback period is that the payback period ignores the time value of money, which is the basic principle for investment in finance and economics. So payback period ignores the concept of time value of money. Secondly, payback period also ignores any cash flows which will be generated after the payback period. So all about this lecture. In our next lecture, we'll cover payback period in Excel and discounted payback period.